And Steve Jent joining us in studio today. Steve is the executive director of the Sanderson Farms Championship. And back away from the mic just a little bit. There we go.
All right, here we go.
These are like these mics are nicer than my car, I think. So you can like just sit back here and then just take care of us.
You can just listen really, really well, right?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. What's up, man? Good to see you as always.
Yeah, you too.
Rare to see you this time of year.
I know. Thank you for having me in. I want everybody to think about the tournament all year long. So it's great to talk about a September tournament in February. This is awesome. Thank you.
So last week was the big check presentation day,
Yes.
and another record was set in terms of the size of that check.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's always about 2 feet by 4 feet, big
Right.
piece of cardboard, right? So that size doesn't change. But yeah, we $1.5 million to Children's of Mississippi through the folks at Friends of Children's Hospital, which is a record for us, which was an amazing year. After setting a record in a year that was COVID, right? And what a lot of people don't realize is we had so many great donations from sponsors and supporters, but not having to have our expenses. So we got to have first tournament last year in 6 months with 2 programs for revenue and not the expenses, and be able to still set a record for charity. And then this year, with our fans back, being able to beat that once again. So if you haven't, and I know with COVID they can't do many tours right now in small numbers with the hospital, but the new Kathy and Joe Sanderson Tower is changing lives for Mississippi kids. And if you haven't seen it, I know you've driven by and seen how huge it is. It's an amazing facility with amazing people inside it, and to be able to impact what they do is pretty cool. Kind of drives us all year long.
You know, it was 2 or 3 years ago at the tournament. Joe sat down with us and we visited. And if you're a golf fan, you can be appreciative of what Joe Sanderson and Sanderson Farms have done for the golf tournament.
Sure.
I don't think that was, or at least I didn't get the impression that was the driving force behind why Joe Sanderson threw the support of his company and his family's name behind this event. I think it was more about continuing to support Children's of Mississippi, and obviously with their name on that tower now, it speaks to that. But this was a win-win for Mississippi.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know that tower was in mind in 2013 when Joe jumped in here, but it's certainly making a huge difference. And Joe's granddaughter Sophie was treated at Children's, and he's got a real soft spot in his heart for that. And the famous line that Joe has when the PGA Tour first started talking about the tournament is, "You can't steal chicken on the Golf Channel." Well, we've done it. We've done a great job at it. It does kind of keep our mind all year long is, hey, here's the end goal of what we want to do. We want to beat last year's number. We want to make a difference for the kids in Mississippi, and we want Mississippians and everybody to be proud of what we're doing here through a golf tournament. And we want everybody to have fun when they come out to the tournament, whether you're a golf fan or not. But the end goal is, can we beat last year's charity number? On top of that $1.5 million to the hospital, we're also giving $255,000 to about 50 other Mississippi charities. So the number's closer to 1.8, which in our market size is amazing what we're doing for charity.
Would Steve Jent of 20 years ago have that same perspective on big picture? We're trying to remember that at the end, this is what we're doing, or would you 20 years ago have been so locked in on, we have to put on a great event?
Yeah. 20 years ago, I'm selling tape and glue for 3M up in Charlotte. So I don't know about then, but
I think multiple events.
I was
a decade or so.
Wells Fargo, for about the last 16, 17 years.
Okay.
Kind of got started at the Wells Fargo at the time of the Wachovia Championship, and then moved on to the Wyndham Championship in North Carolina. Now here for the last 8, almost 9 years. But I think as you get older, you kind of start wondering, on a daily basis, is it about career achievements or group goal achievements? And I think for me, it's always been, how can the event be great for the people visiting that event, right? I spent some time with Disney from 95 to 2000, and so could kind of see from a customer service what an organization can really achieve. And, I get a kick out of seeing other people having fun, right? So if the goal is, the end game is charity and people having a great time at the tournament to impact that charity. But I think as you get older, I think that becomes maybe a little more important.
All right, so tell me more about this. So career path.
Yeah.
Disney.
Right. Out of grad school, I started work for Disney in operations for 5 years. Yeah.
In Orlando?
In Orlando. Most of my time there was
Park or-
Epcot, at Parks, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So came out of Wake Forest in '95 out of graduate school. Went to a small school in Indiana called DePaul University with a W, not an L in Chicago. W.
There you go.
Yeah. Still a great basketball program. An alumni from that program was the president of the Parks division for Disney. Through some networking, got to know him and got an opportunity to go to Disney at Epcot. So most of my time at Disney was spent in operations, helping to run that park, corporate sponsorships, international programs. I did spend a day as Tigger, but
That's disappointing.
yeah,
Or Pooh.
Tigger's great. Tigger was awesome.
No, disappointing that you didn't get to spend a day as Tigger.
Oh no, I did get to spend a day. That's the thing. I got to spend a day as Tigger. So just
Oh, you did?
I did.
thought you said you didn't.
No, I did. So Disney puts everybody, all their management staff through their training. You get to spend one day as a costume character. So
Really?
everything is based on height. I'm 5'10", so I got to be Tigger for a day. So it was awesome. It is hard. I mean, I did it in November in Orlando, which is relatively mild weather. It is. You got to have it's great to have an appreciation for those, cast members that are in those costumes.
So did you go multiple places, or was like Crystal Palace your home base? Where that was or at least now that's the theme spot where Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore and Tigger all hang out.
Yeah, this would have been 97, 98. So I was at the Magic Kingdom, and it was somewhere in one of those character pop-out places. I spent
Kind of restaurant based.
yeah, I can't.
not.
Yeah, maybe I'm not
I'm
sure.
grilling him on Disney for 97.
You can see knees and ankles as Tigger. So I'm not sure where they led me to, but you spend about half a day kind of going through training to be a Tigger, and then I spent like 3 20-minute sets as Tigger.
But you go out
and
and
it's
like
hard.
they're handing you and you try and
I'm
autograph the
signing
autograph
autographs
books
and taking pictures with kids that I can't see what their faces. Yeah, it was cool, rewarding, one of a kind experience. It was really cool. Now I just disappointed a whole bunch of people to think Tigger is real.
Did you do the underground Disney thing? I mean, how fascinating is that whole underground city?
That's kind of, on a regular basis. I was at Epcot, which doesn't really have a basement, but yeah. What I think everybody knows by now, the Magic Kingdom actually sits on the second level. So there's a whole other lower level. And Walt Disney's philosophy is that, when you're in a land, you have to feel like you're in that land. So he didn't want someone in a costume from Fantasyland walking around to Fort Wilderness, right? So everything comes up from the bottom. Restaurant stocking, merchandise stocking, cast members, so that you're not walking around the park. Everything is supplied and done from underneath the park. The other parks are a little bit different. It's kind of, there's a ring road around like Epcot, so everything kind of comes from the back side. But from the Magic Kingdom, you're on floor 2, and everything's coming up from floor 1. It's just, it's pretty cool to be there and kind of see the behind the scenes aspect of how Disney works.
I think they do tours of that now.
They do. Yeah, there's a whole Disney development corporate training program, but they do kind of behind the scenes, backstage magic, I think is what it's called, tours. So I got to live it for 5 years. It was great.
And then you sell Scotch tape.
Yeah, left, 6.5 years.
You must not have loved that.
No, it was, from an experience of working for another world-class company like 3M with great products, day-to-day being in front of customers. 3M is very much about their products solving problems, and I was in a manufacturing environment. So I was with customers every day who had issues they're trying to solve, and I got to do that with 3M products. So it was pretty cool. I did that for 3 years in Northern Indiana, and then 3 years in Charlotte before I got involved with PGA Tour.
Which bridges us to the PGA Tour.
Right.
And you've been there for, decade and a half now.
Yeah, since 2006. So, yeah. So, again, worked with the Wachovia Championship, then the Wyndham Championship, and now here. So, director sales up in North Carolina, and then executive director here. So, leading everything, and it's been great. I mean, the PGA Tour. My fortune, I've gone from Disney to 3M to the PGA Tour, so it's world class brands.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun, and have been able to really have a lot of fun, whether it's guests, customers, or fans, impacting the experience that people have.
Yeah, and I think the reason I kind of went down that road, I mean, you piqued my interest a little bit when you said Disney and the customer service side of things, because I feel like that has to play into what you do now, where you're servicing fans, but you're also catering to players, and you're trying to create an event that is so incredibly captivating. Is that are you trying to captivate the players when they arrive, where they walk away with a memory that says, I want to go back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's you don't. you want them back, right? I want our sponsors back. I want our fans back. I want our players back. You want to provide a guest customer experience that everybody thinks is first class. For a player who is 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 events a year, I wonder if some weeks they wake up and wonder where they're at.
Don't know where they are. Resort Studios. Visit PearlRiverResort.com. Pearl River Resort, the home of the sports book at Timeout Lounge. Steve Jent is our guest from the Sanderson Farms Championship. We've covered his career path. We've talked about the $1.5 million donation from the golf tournament to Children's of Mississippi that happened last week, or at least the presentation of the big cardboard paper check and the ceremony and the pictures and all that go along with that.
We're not going back to elementary school like report cards or anything, right? We're good.
No.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks.
We'll go Wake Forest Graduate School forward.
We're fine. That's great.
So when we ran out of time just a second ago, I asked you the question: are you trying to captivate the players?
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about creating a memorable experience, but it's rinse and repeat for those guys.
I think a lot of it is. I mean, it's you hear talking about players having favorite golf courses, right? And and they are. For a lot of them, a certain course suits their eye, but they are there for a reason. It's their career. They're trying to earn a living playing golf, right? Yeah. So their first priority is the golf course, one, making the cut, two, trying to win that golf tournament. So, they're in Marriott Courtyards, Hiltons, Marriotts every week, right? Westons, whatever. And all the tournaments do a phenomenal job. Most week they get a courtesy car. The player dining food is great. They're staying in great places. They're playing great golf courses. But I think in Mississippi, we basically got a great golf course and then how they're treated from a hospitality standpoint. So we don't want to stub our toe on any of that. And I've had so many guys tell me, Steve, you got really good hotels. You got great hotels. Jackson and the surrounding area is probably underrated for the amount of amazing independent restaurants we have. Our food here is great.
Yeah.
It's easy to move around, right? I mean, if you stay downtown, it's a 15-minute ride out to the country club. I mean, so we're convenient, we're easy. It's a great golf course. How they're treated, the staff on site, my staff, the country club staff, our Century Club folks, the volunteers. You don't want to do anything to stub your toe to say, hey, we want you coming back, and not only do we want you coming back, we want you throughout the year telling the other guys how great it is here too. So, from a player standpoint, I think we're hitting on all the cylinders. They really like it here. It's just a matter of this was just a third year. It's a standalone event, and I think it's only going to get better.
All right, so I want to peek behind the curtain, and I feel like maybe you're qualified to do this.
I set up the curtain, so I hope so.
Yeah.
So there you go.
The difference between Dustin Johnson, who rents a house in Augusta and maybe brings in his chef. Tiger Woods, who I don't know if this is true or not, but the legend was not only would he rent a house, he would have whoever he rented the house from move out all their furniture so he could bring his own furniture, and it could feel like home when he got there.
I hear guys doing that with beds, but okay. I don't know about everything. Yeah.
It's better story that way.
Sure, absolutely. It grows.
But that tier.
Right.
And that tier that either owns a plane or is involved with a charter company, whether as a customer or sponsor or whatever, and so they're flying private.
Right.
And maybe they're traveling with a nutritionist and a trainer and, whatever else.
Right.
And their status is not in question. Compared to the guy that's desperately trying to either earn his card or hang on to his card.
Right.
That making $600,000 or $700,000 in winnings on tour would be a phenomenal year. Although probably not good enough to get your card.
Yeah, I was going to say, 130 guys, 113 guys, something last year made over $1.2 million.
Well, let's say trying to scratch $1 million.
Sure, trying to get that top 125 FedEx Cup points.
You mentioned hotels, and rental cars, and what's the difference
between the guys?
Between that Dustin Johnson, now Patrick Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, and I don't want to throw anybody in. Let's just say a rookie on tour that's trying to figure it out.
Right off the Korn Ferry Tour, just trying to figure it out. I think, as the guys do better on the golf course, obviously their off-course earnings do well. The sponsorships, endorsements, private outings, things like that, right? And they're just making more money. So you get to a point where, I don't know if it's any different than a private businessman, that he gets to a certain point where flying private is his time is worth money and he can afford it, and maybe allows him to get from point A to point B where he's more refreshed, or he's not using as much of his time to fly commercial. He knows his clubs are going to get there, right? So I think as these guys just become more successful, they've got more assets that they have and more resources to be able to just let them focus on the golf. They're not having to worry about, where are we going out to eat tonight? Where am I staying? Hey, you picking up the rental car? When you coming in? That kind of stuff. They have a lot of people that are helping them, so all they have to do is focus on golf. Someone else is renting a house for them, and now they can afford to rent the house, right? But I mean, when you go on vacation and you get a house, it's so much better than if you're in, a hotel room with just 2 queen beds for an entire week, right? Yeah. It's more move around space, and maybe your family can join you. Your caddy can have it's conveniences that you can now afford, and that I think maybe that just allows you to focus on the golf more.
So, one of the great mysteries in golf, and there's stories that you can read if you do a Google search, you can find stories that will put monetary values on corporate sponsorships. Not for tournaments, but for individual players.
Sure.
Like the hat is worth this, and a chest logo is worth X, and there's a sleeve logo is worth something, and bag logo and whatever. For a guy that's breaking onto the tour, just made the move from Korn Ferry.
Sure.
In real dollars, how much money are we talking about?
I honestly don't know.
He's going to give us the I don't know answer.
So it probably depends. I mean, there's a lot of probably, ball, shoe, glove deals, and then when if it's hat goes in there too. I mean, usually like hat, glove, shoe, there's a lot of companies that do that, right? And maybe the ball. But I mean, like a Titleist, right? It's probably so it's probably enough to cover your travel expenses for the first year, I would guess. You hear, I mean, so it could be 200,000 give or take. Right?
I was going to ask
something like that. Yeah, and then they're not paying for golf clubs, right? And there's no entry fees, so it's again depending on your status as a rookie, right? You come out as the NCAA champion or maybe the Haskins Award winner, and your perceived earnings potential is maybe higher than a guy who's really scratched it, who just kind of gets his card and he's maybe on the Korn Ferry Tour a couple years. So, again, not being an agent, I don't know how all those, they're not, we don't talk about that a lot. But, hopefully your first year deal maybe can be enough to cover your travel so that then everything else is just kind of on, earnings on top of that.
If Hey Dad decides to go play in a golf tournament with his buddies, there's an entry fee. Right, I mean, he's going to play in a 4-man scramble, and it's at a nice course, and it's a 2-day event or a 3-day event, and it's.
Do they charge if you lose a lot of balls?
No, those are free too. So clubs, balls,
thank
hats,
the good Lord
gloves.
for that.
Yeah.
I would be out some money.
Let's say it's a 2-day event at $400 a head, so it's $1,600 a team.
Yeah.
Is there an entry fee for professional golfers into a golf tournament?
There's not for a PGA Tour player with status, right? So if you're maybe one of my sponsor exemptions that's not a tour player, an amateur that makes the cut, yes, there's an entry fee. But all the players have a locker room fee, so we want them to pay the locker room attendant. But there's no entry fee for a PGA Tour player to play in an event. So there's no in fee into the tournament itself.
The business side of the PGA Tour is fascinating because this is a different life than most of us can relate to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of depends. I mean, there's expenses, there's revenues and expenses. You're talking about like the individual player's life, right?
Just a balance sheet.
Yeah, I mean, but his earnings are based on his performance, right? So maybe is it different from that guy that's out there that gets up on Monday and leaves town as a sales rep, comes back on Friday and he eats what he kills. Maybe not, but yeah, a player has, hey, I did this year. These were my expenses. Here's what I brought in. Here's, they're just like, it's just kind of like a little bit like you and me, but it's just maybe on a different level, right?
Yeah.
And then from the business side, some of them have agents. Some of them prefer not to have agents, right? I mean, I've talked to Peter Malnati many times. He's had agents over the years, but Peter likes setting up his airfare. He likes booking his hotel rooms. He likes knowing what he's doing. He just likes that. But another guy might say, listen, I don't want to mess with that at all. That's what my agent's for.
So there are guys that will kind of negotiate their own sponsorship deals?
Oh, yeah. There are plenty of players that don't.
Because they don't want to pay 10% or whatever the number is.
Yeah, either they don't want to pay it to an agent or they feel like they're good on their own at representing themselves to a corporate sponsor. Or maybe they have some buddies who are sponsors where they live that are kind of, sponsor them, have a bag deal or whatever. Or maybe they just like to handle it on their own. But then, then there are the Colin Markars and the Matthew Wolfs and these guys that right out of college, they let an agent handle everything. So,
yeah. And that seems to be working well for those guys.
Those guys are doing okay. Yeah. Colin and Matthew's here this last year. What a great guy. Again, our field's getting better and better. So the more of those players that you're talking about with more resources at their disposal are coming here. It's just been the last few years where we've had players wanting to rent houses and stay with other players and some of that. We've had caddies bunk like 8 to a house for years, but it's just now that we're seeing the Sergios and the Sam Burns and the Gary Woodlands come where guys are looking to stay in a
different type
private
setup.
setting. Right.
Yeah. We'll spend one more segment with Steve Jent, if you're good.
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
We'll go kind of after action. Golf tournament ends. You start getting ready for the next year. How do you figure out how to improve year over year? We'll do that next.
Oh, I'm loving this.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
He sits in for you admirably quite often. Yeah, he's great.
Better than.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm a guest, so I didn't want to go that far.
Yeah. Well, okay. He would say that about himself, so I don't mind saying it.
Only in this case.
Yeah. Yeah. Tournament ends.
Yep.
I would think that you would love to take some time off and take a big old breather and a break, but my guess is pretty quickly you've got to get back into, okay, what did we do well? Are there things that we need to improve on? Who do you talk to? How do you get feedback? How do you make the event better?
Yeah, and you're right. Not right away. It's nice to take a breather. We can't do it right away. Our first goal is to get the golf course back to the members. We're a guest, right? We're an event, probably one of their bigger customers of the year, but we're a guest, and so we want everything off the golf course, and we try to clear that away, within a month to 5 weeks if we can.
It takes that long.
Yeah, it's just to get everything off, right? You may not see it on the golf course, but we've got a compound back in the maintenance area. We've got, we still have vendors cleaning up and getting all their equipment back to their companies, and we actually kind of start on the following year, probably 2 months before any given year's tournament. So, at a certain point in time, the build, what you're doing in a given year, it's a train going downhill. You just can't stop it, right? But you start looking at things, going, hey, let's tweak that next year. Let's look at this year. We know it's too late for changes, but we know we'd like to do some different things. So it's kind of a 14, 15-month planning, type deal.
Yeah.
But once the tournament's over.
So July, you're working on.
Yeah, July, August, we're probably, as we start building, we're already kind of thinking about the following year, what we'd like to do. And then once that final putt drops and there's a little bit of celebration with the player, the next day we're moving golf carts around. We're trying to get everything back in order. Get the club's carts back in their cart shed, our carts off. Starting to get, whether it's signage, whether it's the build, whether it's everything. We're trying to get that place cleaned up as fast as we can. And then, outside of the physical build of the event and following up with some things, there's the financial follow-up, right? So there's bills to be paid, there's revenue still to come in, and then it's the analysis of that so we can figure out, how big can that check be that we gave last week? And that takes us, we take a little bit of a breather probably by Thanksgiving, and then meet with my executive committee and my board the first week of December to say, by then I want to be prepared with financials to say, hey guys, here's the kind of year we had. And then, I tell my staff every year, our goal is to see how big of a pile of money we can raise, push it across the table to our board of directors and say, it's your decision what to do with it. So, and the holidays are a little bit of a breather for us. The PGA Tour shuts down. It's kind of not really an off season, but it's kind of an off time for golf. And not much. But we were already kind of talking with sponsors after the tournament. Hey, how did it go for you? What can we do better? And we're having a lot of those conversations right now. A lot of our sponsorship deals are multi-year, so we're just kind of following up. But we go right back at, we're trying to get all of our programs renewed by April 1st. So we're saying to everybody, hey, if you want your same program spot, because they're both sold out, you got to renew by April 1st. So it's really, there's some seasonality to it, but it really is a year-round, kind of working process. We get, like I said.
What about with the players? Do you get feedback from them?
Yeah, a lot of immediate feedback. I'll get texts, guys are leaving town, hey, I hate to miss the cut, but man, I had a great time. Thank you so much. I usually try to go out to 1 or 2 events in the fall right away. And I'll get a lot of feedback from the players then, right? So, hey, had a great time when we were there. I rarely, and maybe they're just afraid, but they really do say great things about how everyone treats them here, about the golf course, about their experience. If anything, the comments sometimes I get are how to improve things, right? Camilo Bajegas' caddy's his brother, Manny. Manny's like, you got to shave this bank on this hole.
Really?
It's got to be more risk reward. So yeah, so they'll say a few things, to me about some things like that. But yeah, they just have so many great things to say about it. And again, I think the word's spreading. But then, and I was in Palm Springs 2 weeks ago. I'll be in Phoenix next week.
All right, what's the scene
like
there?
So yeah, Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's been a few years.
It's great on television.
Yeah, it is. It is unlike any other golf tournament on the schedule. It really is. It is Phoenix is what, 4, 5, 6 million people in the wintertime. It's a huge metropolitan area, right? And that has become kind of their big winter deal. But you got people coming from Minnesota and all over the place to there. And the whole thing is getting bigger and bigger every year. Between the concerts at night, the 16th hole is, it's just completely enclosed now. Triple decker.
It's like a stadium.
It is a stadium, right? And it's an okay hole. It's 155 to 165 yard par 3, right? And
they don't really try to tuck the pin, right?
No, a little bit, maybe on the left side a little bit, and it can cause some guys some problems. And people get booed if they bogey or just a par. But the 17th hole is actually a really, really good hole. That now the Thunderbirds have kind of started to grow the hospitality up on that hole, where a lot of days it's drivable, and you got water down the left side, and whether you can actually get to the green or.
So is it adults on 17, and they leave the college kids
on 16? I don't know. The times I've been, there's a lot of adults on 16 having a lot of fun. But it's just a very, very well-run, fun event. It's on a TPC course, which is big. It's designed for spectator golf. But a lot of times I'll go, whether it's on the range, I'll get away from 16 and 17 and 18 and get out on like 4, 5, 6, 12 out there where there's really not that, the crowds really aren't out there, and you can kind of see some really good golf. But it is, I think everybody has to kind of see it once just to experience it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've gotten a couple of these questions on the C Spire text line, and I know that you don't specifically know the answer, but maybe you can shed some light on or whatever your standard answer is.
Sure.
People believe in this golf tournament, and they love it, and you've grown it, but some think there may be uncertainty because of the sale of Sanderson Farms or the pending sale of Sanderson Farms, and people are curious about the future of the event because of the title sponsorship there. Anything you can...
Sure.
Any light you can shed on that?
Well, I would tell you the first question, and I get this a lot. I do not work for Sanderson Farms, so I work for Century Club Charities, right? But I would tell you every week I get an email from somebody that wants to sell me chicken processing equipment or trucks or feed or fuel, and I just pass those on and go, okay. So I think when you don't kind of understand Century Club, PGA Tour, Sanderson Farms as a title, I get it. But I don't. So I don't know the ins and outs of. Other than what I read on Yahoo Finance, I don't know where it kind of the sale stands. But I would tell you, our Century Club's take on it is that we believe we still have 5 years left on this title sponsor agreement. And so every morning when we get up, my staff goes to work going, hey, until otherwise, no, we think we are through 2026, and that's kind of how we're planning. Met a couple of folks from Continental Grain. Didn't really talk anything with them when they were here. Nice folks, but they really can't see anything. Sanderson Farms can't see anything. They're being very close-lipped about the sale, as they should be. And
I was going to say, that's kind of a big transaction, and they've got to be buttoned up on that deal first.
For the state of Mississippi and for one of our largest companies and everything, they are very confidential. They're not going to share anything with the guy that runs the golf tournament. So I really don't know much about that. All I know is every day we get up and go, okay, we're going to make 22 better than 21, and we're going to make 23 better than 22. So,
give me your best golfer story.
Story?
Yeah. These are interesting guys. They've got ups and downs. They've got, gags and foibles and...
There's really, I don't know. I don't really have any embarrassing stories about that. I've got.
That's no good.
I know. It's really good. A lot of times when I see these guys out on other tournaments, they don't want to talk about golf.
Hey, Dad's got tons of embarrassing
stories. We're talking about
stories.
food, and we're talking about all sorts of
or just
stuff.
me?
You.
Oh, okay.
So,
I don't know. Jonathan Bird in 2020 when Jonathan came here and played, he accidentally left his passport in his rental car and didn't realize it until the day before he was supposed to get on a plane to go to the Bahamas to play in that tournament. So calls me, we find out it was here, it was locked up in the Avis desk. And so I was prepared to jump on a plane to meet Jonathan in Atlanta with his passport, right? And instead he's like, Steve, don't do that. I'll wait one more day. I'll go in Wednesday, and I'll just have the pro-am as my practice round. Just FedEx it to me here in Sea Island. So, I mean, these guys are just guys. I'm not even sure I know where my passport is right now. So
sounds like you needed Steve on your honeymoon. Oh, no, sounds like you needed Steve on your honeymoon.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to remember that.
The way it looked to me is, what's a round trip ticket to the Atlanta for me and then back? $300.
Sure.
I mean, if it was $300 to get Jonathan Bird his passport so he could go play in the Bahamas, done. But he just waited another day. So
music started, so we're out of time.
Yeah.
Do guys like playing in Honolulu? I know that's. I'm sorry, not Honolulu. At Kapalua, the Tournament of Champions.
yeah, because it means they won the year before. Yeah.
But I feel like not everybody plays that. Maybe it's just the guys that are so high.
They had an amazing field this year.
It was good.
It was really good. I think there was only one or two of the guys that. It's a fun golf course, very hilly, probably the most challenging walk of the year for the caddies. But yeah, I think I've been to Maui once, and if I was there because it meant I won the year before and I got a chance to win again,
Be real excited.
it'd be pretty cool.
Thanks so much.